What is going on, you guys? Charles here from the Traders Corner. So I have a newer video for you today, and it's basically taking you on a step-by-step, walkthrough of creating an Excel sheet or a Google sheet to track your trades or track your back testing. It's very useful. It's like a user-friendly dashboard that you can create, and I take you through each step. Now, it's a bit of a longer video because, like I said, I take you through each step from blank sheet to new, dashboard that updates live as you update data live. But if you don't have time for that, or if you don't want to go through all that, you don't really care about learning to do this stuff in Excel or Google Sheets, no problem with that. I completely get it. Definitely go check out the link in the description below. We're going to have the link to our dashboard that you're more than free to download and use for yourself. Just make sure you make a copy of the dashboard so you can actually update it. All right, so definitely go check that out if you don't want to go through the video. If you want to create your own, definitely stick around for the video, because like I said, I take you from step 0 to the end to where you now have a live functioning dashboard that updates as you update the data. That looks something like this, right? So, or however you want it to look, right? And we could talk about changing that kind of stuff. So definitely stick around for that. But again, if you don't want to, if you don't have the time, whatever, you just need the dashboard, definitely go download our dashboard for free. See a lot of people out here selling dashboards or, that kind of thing. Don't buy something that you could make for free or somebody could give you for free. So hope you guys enjoy the video, and please stick around. I'm going to be teaching you something a little bit different, but something you could definitely use in your own trading. And I think it would be helpful for anybody in, wherever they're at in their trading career. And that is basically creating your own trading dashboard, right? I see a lot of, people, giving out their free dashboards or giving out their free Notion templates or anything like that, which is fine. But I also want to, I thought it was something where I could give back in terms of give the ability to create your own, because that's what I did. I've talked about before, I was a finance major in college. So, I'm comfortable using Excel, that kind of stuff, right? And so, I created my own dashboard, and because of that, I'm able to, basically make it look how I want it to look, and, get the data that I want to get. I think one of the worst things is, trying to get something and then trying to form fit what it is that you do to the data that somebody else collects, right? And so that's what we're going to do today, is I'm going to show you how to create your own. So let's get started. Okay, so first and foremost, what we're going to need, and you could do this in Google Sheets or Excel. What I'm about to show you, it works, like I said, Google Sheets or Excel, because obviously Google Sheets is a mimic of Excel. But I would say as well, if you're a bit newer towards Google Sheets or Excel, I would definitely recommend doing this in Excel first. Excel is much more helpful in terms of the formulas that it, offers you and that kind of stuff. And I'll show you the formulas that I'm going to put in, that I put in my own dashboard and journal to calculate things. But other than that, I would say Excel is definitely more helpful for somebody newer, right? But just to get started, first thing that we're going to want to do is I want to look at my own dashboard first. I'm going to show you the 6 things that, 6 charts that I have in terms of data points. Now, this isn't exhaustive in terms of these are the only data points that you should collect. And that's the reason why I'm making this video, is to show you how to create your own so you can decide, other data points that you might want to collect, right? So let's just look at my dashboard here, right? So this is just dummy data. It's not real. It's, something I just threw in there to make sure that the dashboard was functioning like it should be. And then, I threw some screenshots in there because I wanted to see, sorry about that. I wanted to do some things with screenshots and all that kind of stuff and just make sure it looks right. If you go over here to the right as well, you can see greed level, fear level, confidence level. It's something I've talked about before in terms of putting in the log, something that I definitely put as well. You can see these little red boxes here, and it's basically telling me that I need to put a number between 1 and 10, and that's what's called a data validation. We could show you more of that, but essentially I just do that to remind myself, hey, in this box, put a number between 1 and 10 in terms of how greedy you were feeling or how fearful you were feeling, right? And then we can use this as well, this information as well, to possibly make more data points. But as of right now, what we have, looking at the actual dashboard itself, is we have return by entry signal, average winner by pair. We also have monthly return, percentage of trades by pair, total return by pair, and account balance. So like I said, again, this is a lot of dummy data. So you see in here, it's really just Euro USD, and then just two types of entry signals, right? And so that being said, this is basically something that you can create. You can take these charts and mess around with them. Say, for example, you don't want this grand total in here. It's something I'm probably going to take out, or, over here in terms of percentage of trades by pair, let's say you actually have different, pairs that you've traded besides just Euro USD, and you want to, denote the names here instead of just by color. Those are all things that you can change, and I'll show you how to do those things, in this. But first things first, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna actually have to create the journal itself. So let's go into our blank sheet. So as we saw that we had two sheets there, in the one Excel in the one like Google Sheets document, in this last one, so the journal and the dashboard. So we'll just go ahead and make another one, but I'll tell you that we're going to need more. But it might look like there's not more in mine, but we have to calculate all of these things, essentially calculate them, right? And the way you do that is by creating what's called a pivot table, which we'll get to later. But first we'll look at the journal, right? So with the journal, what we can see, looking at the one that I've already created, I have date. And again, this date up here is really unimportant, right? What I wanted to show you, the most important things that I want to show you are these two columns here, right? I want to show you a way for you to be able to calculate, the win just by you putting in a result, right? And then also how to calculate a running account balance. Pretty simple formulas. And then, like I said, other stuff you can decide, if you want or don't. So as you can see here, we have the formula of if this, so this result, or G2 in this case, is greater than 0, then we want it to say win. If it's not greater than 0, then we want it to say loss. Now, if you're a trader that uses break evens, I can show you another formula to add on the break even, because right now, I don't use break even, so I just have win and loss. So I only need two, only need two values to be returned, from the sheet, but you might need 3. So I can show you how to do that as well. But this is like one of the main formulas that I'm going to show you in the other sheet. And then as well, we have the account balance formula, which is a very simple formula. Okay. We simply just we're going to have a starting account balance somewhere in the sheet. You can put it wherever you want. All you have to do is simply go out and say starting account balance times 1 plus the result to the left. Okay. Now, you do that for this first one, and the second one, you'll say, instead of starting account balance, you'll do the previous account balance. So in this case, 25,977. So in this one, it'll be I2 times 1 plus G3, right? And then in this one, we're going to have I3 times 1 plus G4. Right. So in this sense, we're always multiplying the previous account balance times whatever we have in terms of the result. Right. So if it's positive or negative, Excel's going to do that for us. As we can see here, we went from 28759 down to 2471 because this was negative, and then down again. Right. So those are the two main formulas. And then as well with the data validation, I will show you how to do that in the other sheet. So let's go ahead and put these other formulas in this sheet, put these formulas in this other sheet. So again, what do we have here? We have if, so that's an if statement. So we have equals if. So if you're new to Excel or Sheets, equals gives you a formula. And the reason why I say it's probably better to use Excel if you're newer is you can see here it's giving me possibilities, but it's a little bit more helpful in Excel, right? In terms of what they tell you. So G2, sorry, this should be an H. So if G2 or G1 in this case is greater than 0, and I'm gonna show you how to set it up for break evens as well. Then when, comma, and this is where it's more helpful because each time you go through the formula, each time you put a comma in Excel, it'll give you like, okay, well, like what's next? Like here's a possibility of what's next. You don't really see that in Sheets. So since we want three possibilities, okay, we want a second if statement. All right. So we want comma if, again, G1, this time I'm going to say is equal to 0. Then break even. Then if it's not equal to 0, it's less than 0, and so then it should say loss. And then we close off both if statements. So here we have nothing, so it's showing us break even. If we put 0 in there, again, it's showing us break even. If we put -1, it's showing us loss. If we put 1, it's showing us win, right? So with the column that you're going to use to do this, I always recommend doing it in percentages. It's, it's just something I've heard from mentors for a while now. Think about percentages, not pips. And it's easier to do the account balance as well in terms of if we're using percentage, but be careful of using percentage, because if you use percentage in Excel or Sheets, make sure that, it's either already the whole column is set up for percentage, or if it's not all set up for percentage, you actually put it in as a percentage would come in. So what I mean by that, here we put in 1, but when we set it up as percentage, it gave us 100. Why? Because 1 in terms of percentage actually equals 100. If we're talking about 1%, that's 0.01, right? So we want to see 1%, 0.01, right? And then we'll have to say equals 0.01. And then we'll say, again, percentage. And so then we see 1%, right? So then, but since the whole column is already set up for percent, now if we put 1, it's just going to show us 1, okay? So there we have the win formula, right? Then at this point, you just copy it down, right? And then you have the account balance formula. So this could go anywhere, again, like I said, but let's just have our starting account balance right here. So this equals 2,500. So then this one, very basic. So we're just going to have equals this times 1 plus this, all right? And so it's going to suggest that, okay, do you want to do J2 times this? No, we don't want to do J2, because what we want to do is we want to do the next, or we want to do the previous account balance. So we want to say not J2, right? But we want to say I1, so 1 up times 1 plus G2. Should have closed that off. I don't need this second parentheses. I want to put that in there. And then you can copy it down, because now it's going to be going from I1 to I2 to I3, and it's always going to be getting the account balance right above it, right? So then if we copy this down, it doesn't want to go with me. And we'll just throw in some numbers here: 2, 1, -1, -1, 2, 3. And we'll throw a 0 and a 0 in there, right? So as you can see here, we have the account balance changing based on how much percentage is over here, right? And at this point, what we can also do is we can insert a row above for all to label, everything. So, like I had the date over here, right? This might be different for you. This is where it might change up for you. That's perfectly fine. So I'm doing this date, pair, whatever. All right. So I call this result. I call this outcome and account balance, right? And then, if the sheet gets big, if you use the same sheet, you use the same journal, right? You're going to want to be able to know that you're in the right column as you go down. So an easy way to do this is we're going to highlight this row up here. We're going to go to view up at the top. We're going to go to freeze. We're going to go one row, right? And so since the row we highlighted is now frozen. So as we scroll down, we can see what is in that top row. And we can make sure that the date, the pair, all this kind of stuff is in the correct column. So that's basically creating the journal. So now that we have this journal, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and I'm going to copy this information here I'm gonna copy this as well so I can show you how to create the actual dashboard itself, right? So I'm gonna copy this information, and this is good for now. And I'm gonna take this. How many do we have? We have about, what is this? So we have 10. So we have 10. This is 10. All right, 10, 10. All right, so we got the results. So we don't need the results. We just need this other information. And we will paste that right in, right? Just delete this one. So now we'll create the dashboard. Now, just to show you how to do it, it's gonna be the same process no matter which data points you pick. Now, the data points you pick might decide, kind of where you put what in terms of the pivot table, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But it's gonna be the same process. So I'm gonna show you how to do 2, right? And then from there, again, like I said, you can decide which ones you wanna do. So first thing that we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna come over here. Before we go anywhere, let's just label this journal, or trade log, whatever it is that you want to call it. Let's label this one dashboard, because this is where we're going to put all our charts. All right, this one's journal, this one's dashboard. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to click this button right over here on the left, right? Highlight everything. All right, we're going to insert a pivot table, and it's going to be for this entire sheet, right? The entire sheet of journal 1 to however many numbers you get. So we're going to want to create it in a new sheet, not in the existing sheet. Okay, a new sheet, because you don't want anything in your journal. So we're going to create a new sheet. All right. And so then from here, what we can do is we can say, okay, well, let's say, for example, we have, and this is my dashboard. So we have, let's make this account balance chart, right? That's a good one that traders might obviously want. So let's go ahead and make that. So what we're going to do is in the rows column, what we're going to add is we're going to add the date. And this is why I say click the entire sheet, because I don't know what it is that you're going to add. I don't know what data points you're going to want to add in. If you click the entire sheet, if you highlight the entire sheet to insert the pivot table, you now have the option to pick everything, right? Whatever you highlight to throw into the pivot table, that's the only options you have to pick in the pivot table. So I would say highlight the entire sheet. So we're going to pick date. So now we see date goes in over here. Okay, and so then what do we want in terms of values? Well, we want the account balance for each date. All right, so we have the account balance for each date, right? And so here's another thing that I'll call out. If you're like me and you trade multiple times within a day, you should be doing this anyway. But if you're like me and you trade multiple times within a day, it will be very, very helpful to you if you put the time of day, not just the day, but the time of day into the sheet as well. All right. So if we look over here, the one that I created, well, let's look at the one that I actually use. All right. So the one I actually use. Can see here I have the time of day in there, all right, 8 o'clock. And so then if we look at account balance, it's broken up by time of day, all right? Because otherwise, what we're gonna see, when we go to create this, is it will just sum the value, the account balances for an entire day, right? So if we have 2 account balances for 2.5, it's going to add those 2 account balances, and that's not what we want. All right, obviously, like I said, you should be doing this anyway. You should be collecting this data anyway, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal to you. But yeah, so that's basically the first bit. What we're going to do here is we're going to create this pivot table. Right now, we're going to want to mess with this pivot table a little bit, so we don't want to show the totals. Don't want that. All right. So that's taken away, and this looks fine. And so then from this point, what we can do is we'll go in and highlight this. We'll go insert, and we'll insert a chart, right? Now we can insert different types of charts, and we can change the chart type here, but obviously with it being an account balance, line chart's probably going to be the best. Now you might say to yourself, well, this looks weird. Why does it look like that? Well, it's based on the axis that we have now, right? So if we go back to the journal, where did we start from? We started from 2,500, right? This is starting from 0. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to click this little 3-button icon over here. We're going to go to edit chart, all right? Now, you can do aggregate or don't aggregate. If we click aggregate, it actually spreads out all of our data for us, which is kind of counterintuitive. I don't know why that is the case, but that's just how it works. So that's first thing. I would definitely click aggregate, especially for this type of data for your account balance. All right. Then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to the customize, and then we're going to go to vertical axis. All right. So then from the vertical axis, here we can enter the minimum and maximum value. So whatever you start from, if you start from 0, you start from 100, you can put that in here, right? Like I said, we start from 2,500. So 2,500, and then max value, let's just call it, let's leave it where it is right here. Let's call it actually 2,700, all right? So there we go. We have that set up, all right? And so then from this point, we'll go in, we'll create one more chart, and this time we'll create, let's say we'll create, oh, didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Insert pivot table, new sheet. This time, let's go with, return by entry signal. Let's do that. So entry signal, and then values we're going to want is result, right? So take this one out. So, maybe not result. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Then we're going to want to what did I pick? Oh, I picked account balance. That's what it is. I was like, what is going on? There we go. Okay. I was like, what is going on? That's not right. Yeah. So result. All right. So let's return by entry signal. All right. So if we go over here, you can see overall we should have 4. We got that. And we can see we have these different entry signals here. So this one, all right, and this one. So now we have the return by entry signal, okay? And then again, we're gonna take out these totals, and that should be good. And then we'll just insert another chart, and we will go with a bar chart. Let's go with a bar chart. And then the pivot table itself, what else do I want to do? All right. Delete the. All right. Trying to get this last bit out. What we can do is pivot table editor. That's fine. Filter. You can filter it by entry signal. Yeah, and that's what it is. We don't want to show blanks. All right. So there we go. So, what did I do? There we go. All right, so now that we have the charts in there, so it took a little minute. Had to remember how to filter that. So again, like we were seeing there, if you want to get that last bit out where it was adding it to, that's not what we want to see. All right, we just want to see the return by the entry signal. We just want to go over here to filter. We're going to go on the pivot table. We're going to add a filter. And we're going to filter on the entry signal and then only show the actual entry signals, not show blanks. All right, so now that we have these pivot tables and these charts created, what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to copy this chart. We're going to move it over here to this dashboard. We're going to paste it in there. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. We'll go in, copy this chart, paste it in the dashboard. Now, over here, we have this pivot table. We may not want to see that, right? We might just want to see the journal in the dashboard, right? And the nice part is as this changes here, this will actually update here, right? So what we can do is we can hide this sheet and hide this sheet. So now if we ever want to see it again, if we need to change it, it's right there. But then we'll go over to the dashboard and we'll just get this looking nice. So what we'll do is, so we're going to go over to here, we'll go show. So we can have the formula bar, but we don't need it, or because it's just going to be the dashboard. We're not really going to put any formulas in here, so we can hide that. And we'll also hide the grid lines as well. So that makes it more, a little bit, look a little cleaner, right? So then we can just adjust it. It'll add, add that line here to let us know when they're in alignment, right? So that is the basics of creating your own dashboard. You know what I mean? After that, you could go in and really just kind of mess around with creating pivot tables. So we'll make one more pivot table, but like you can just go in and mess around creating pivot tables, adding new charts, So for example, let's say we wanted to look at it by pair. So we'll just go over here and we'll add the pair. Obviously it's only Euro USD, and make sure we add the filter. So we'll go into the pair and we'll go only Euro USD, no blanks. And then we'll have values. Maybe we want to see the account balance by the pair. Maybe we want to see, let's say the account balance, right? So like, it's just going to be what it is at the end, right? It's just going to sum up all the account balances, or we could go, so like, let's say we're looking at the account balance by the pair. Delete this. We can go in and say, I want the max. So that's, the highest I ever got, or I want the minimum, or I want the average, like all that good stuff, right? So you can change it up, do what you want. Obviously do things that make sense. Like it might not make sense to do the account balance by pair in this sense. Maybe you do the result by pair. So I don't know why it just keeps adding column K. I don't want column K. So result, and then you would say, okay, well, yeah, just average it all up, or just, sum it all up because it's only one pair, right? Or sum it all up for every single pair that I trade, right? And then again, from here, we just want to filter everything, make sure we're only looking at what we want to see, and we highlight it and we insert a chart. And there we go, right? So this has been the basics, you know what I mean? It generally doesn't take this long. It only took this long because, I sat there and explained to you what it was that I was doing. But as well, if you watch any of this and you were just like, you know what, dude, like, I don't want to do any of this shit. We have our own sheet. Feel free to download it. I'm going to leave it in the link in the description, down below. So feel free to check it out. And, maybe even just mess around with the journal and mess around with the pivot table, set it up that way. If that's what you want to do, feel free. Like we're saying, it's free. I see a lot of people selling Excel sheets for like $30 or like hundreds of dollars. Like that's ridiculous. Don't buy an Excel sheet. just don't buy it for anything. Let's say that. Like $20, $30, that's one thing, but like hundreds of dollars for an Excel sheet, no. Build your own, because you can get all the data you need by building your own, and putting that hundreds of dollars somewhere else will actually help your trading, right? Maybe into a book, a seminar, going to like a workshop, a course even, or a group chat, whatever it might be. There's so many other places you could put it and build your own journal. And there's so many other ways that you could build journals, right? Like there's apps out there like Notion for free that you can build your own trading journal. I could show you a trading journal that I have in Notion. I just personally prefer Excel because it's easy to build these types of things, right? There's also stuff called Edgewonk. Like it's a trading journal that does a lot of this stuff for you. It's completely free. I just don't like it because it can be a little skittish sometimes, you know what I mean? And I like to be able to manipulate what it is that I see and all that kind of stuff, right? So don't go out there and buy a trading journal. That's stupid. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of the situation. If you want to watch this video, build your own. If not, just download ours for free. I'm more than willing to give it to you for free. And I'm not just basing this stuff just on things that I wanted to see or things that, I think are good for traders. I have watched many a profitable, consistently profitable trader. Like I based my trading sheet off of Jason Graystone's trading sheet, you know what I mean? Who also gave his trading sheet out for free. So if you need a trading sheet and you don't want to go through this process, download ours, link in the description. If you want to go through this process, got any questions about it, feel free to hit me up. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Like I said, pretty comfortable with Excel. Not only did I do it in college, I use it sometimes a good amount at work now. So yeah, pretty comfortable with Excel. So just let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this longer video, and I really hope it provided some value to you guys. And please join us here next time, man.